We come to you from the lovely Writopolis, home to the magnificent Captain Writ. This particular evening was lovely, per usual, but anyone with a sharp sense of how weather works was worried to see some storm clouds developing, some circumcumulus, if you will.
This night is perfect for stargazing. Maybe I should go an extra patrol through the stellar night sky.
The captain had no way of knowing, despite residing here for many years, that all weather patterns had some foreshadowing included. After all, this is the community of the brightest creators of story.
This wind is a little bit colder than I expected. And what's this? Storm clouds on the horizon?
To save some funding on our drama, I have been requested to inform you listeners that there is a loud booming peals of thunder, but rather than just use the actual sound effects, I'm standing my ground and not being a plain sound effects guy. I'm the narrator!
This doesn't actually look good. I better call it quits soon. But wait, what's this my eyes spy below me?
On the fringes of town, in the vast darkness charged by the onrushing clouds, and the... oh, who cares? Was the oddest ritual the captain had yet seen in his heroic career. A long procession of riders were clutching their manuscripts like pearls, fearfully awaiting something the captain could not discern.
Why are they all so glum? I must go closer to investigate. This calls for the mighty Captain Writ!
Whooshing down to the end of the procession, the captain craned his neck to see what lay at the head of the line. He was shocked. The line was long enough they couldn't see the front from where he stood. Passing by people with just enough courtesy as you'd expect from the captain, he wormed his way through the throng.
Why are all you people gathered here like sheep? Surely you don't have to wait for this parade to end.
The judgment is final. My worth will be determined, and I'll have no say in the matter.
What, are you under some spell? Man, spit it out. Who dares do this to my beloved people?
We've come to be chosen. The judgment is for all.
Stop talking in riddles and say clearly, who is doing this to you?
He who weighs the scale makes the decision. We are but mitochondria to him.
Mitochondria?
I'm sorry to admit the captain was never strong enough in science class to remember what part of a cell the mitochondria was. In fact, I don't even remember. Whatever. But surely all you good listeners remember. It's one of the mightiest parts of a cell, just like Captain Writ is to the good people of Writopolis, when he's not bamboozled by things that he didn't learn properly.
Oh, never mind. I'll seek him out myself.
Wasting no more precious time, the captain pounces towards the front of the line, entering a strange temple-esque structure. Inside, a tall figure wearing dusty robes and a very unusual mask held court over the proceedings.
Those pillars are enormous. My lair isn't this open. And what are those gigantic golden plates at this prophet's feet? They're big enough to hold entire regiments of people. This is bizarre.
Behind the impressive golden plates, hallways led off in two directions, one that distinctly looked more pleasant than the other. The figure in charge of the ceremony finally noticed the illustrious Captain Writ.
Those who dare to enter my chamber unannounced will be dealt with swiftly. You who have defiled the ceremony, begone!
With speed faster than Captain Writ, accepting a fancy dinner invitation, long bandages overtook the captain and bound him in place. Our hero struggled with all his overflowing strength, but the wraps were too tight to break.
What sorcery is this? Unhand me now, you fiend!
The fiend is you, impatient one. You will not disrupt my important task. These writers are due for judgment, and no one will interfere.
The bonds still in place. They extend even further from the masked prophet's body, forceful enough to knock the captain off his feet, and hurtling to the back of the chamber, out the vaulted door, and successfully launching him all the way back to the end of the line.
Impossible! How is this villain so strong? Were it not for choice brigands and upstarts, I dare say I might have found a true nemesis at last. Alas, this one will be dealt with summarily, won't rate on my most glorious conquests.
Despite overflowing and probably deserved confidence, the captain was at loss of what to do. Should he use one of his abilities to stop the bandages from incapacitating him? Could he attack the prophet at his altar without risking the health and safety of all those people waiting for what he called judgment? What was this judgment necessary for anyways? The captain's mind swirled with questions.
Maybe the chief of police will have some answers for me. What these people are waiting for, why they're holding their manuscripts, and why they look so resigned. I don't have that kind of time, I'll do it myself!
Mind made up, the captain gathered some fake papers and bundled them together, abandoning his usual costume for perhaps the first time in his heroic career, and tried looking normal to successfully infiltrate the procession.
Can you guys tell me more about what's going on here?
Our creative careers hinge on this judgment. If a new books says we're worthy, we make the grade and head to bestseller.
But most of us are afraid that he'll deem us unworthy, where we're sentenced to boot camp.
Bestseller? I've never heard of it.
It's like the ideal place to go for writers.
Wait, you mean Ritopolis isn't the best place for writing?
I mean, it's a good place to live, sure, but how anyone finds lasting success holed up at home? I don't think they do. A New Books has been working this judgment as a means to send people from here to the most fitting place they belong.
It is said to be an eternal judgment. If he deems us unworthy, we can never come back to Ritopolis.
I must stop this heinous judgment, particularly if it costs Ritopolis some of our upstanding creative citizens. So, the ones lucky enough never come back? That's awful. Ritopolis will lose all of its people.
The anticipation only heightened when he made the door, as the captain noted the long line's eventual destination. Heard a new book say weird words after using their golden plates, like some form of scale, watching people trudge happily to bestseller or miserably to boot camp. Once it got close enough, the captain tuned his ears to the conversation.
Prepare for your judgment. The eternal career arc you deserve will be revealed to you soon.
Yes, the eternal career arc you deserve will be revealed to me.
Wait, I'm not ready to say farewell to my family!
Place your manuscripts on my scales. Your worth will be weighed momentarily.
Can't I just pass on the judgment? I'm having second thoughts! A new book went through his usual pattern without adjustment or comment. This man's total amount of written works was not commensurate to send him down the good hallway.
Boot camp it is. Take your manuscripts, leave this place, and learn what it is you're doing wrong. Judgment is made!
Despite dreading the path, the writer took his manuscript and resigned himself to his fate, trudging the path to boot camp. Finally, the captain's turn came. A new book's face was indiscriminate underneath the dog-styled black mask he wore, but the captain could hear the smirk emanating from him.
I see the illustrious Captain Writ has decided to put his faith in the judgment. Place your manuscripts on my scales. Your worth will be weighed momentarily.
You should know, fiendish new books, that no scale will determine my worth to the wonderful people of Ritopolis. And no matter where you think to send me, I am destined to protect this wonderful city and its people.
After the captain's bold proclamation, his fake manuscripts are weighed. Will the new books pass a favorable or horrible judgment on our beloved Captain Writ? Can the captain break up this awful racket, removing creators from the lovely Ritopolis? Stay tuned to Captain Writ and the Scales of Failure by tuning in to your nearest old-timey radio. This excerpt has been brought to you by the two wonderful co-hosts of the Ritwit podcast. We now return you to that show.
Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of the Ritwit, the show where anything is possible. And yet we keep giving you this.
Well, I'm not sorry for nothing. I am very open.
Too close to home?
Unapologetic about who I am.
Well, there is something to be said about that. Anyways,
It's so funny. I have
welcome back,
such
listeners.
I talk as if I'm a confident man, and as you know, most of my friends in real life know that is absolutely not true. I'm actually
I'd like
quite
to think
insecure.
This podcast is helping. I'd like to think this podcast helps that quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, welcome back, listeners, to the final episode of our set about revision. We've talked redrafting, revising, clipping, and because we don't have a regular segment at the beginning of this episode, we're going to just go right into the fun stuff and say the last one's about inserting.
Yeah, the fun
As you can tell from
stuff.
the title,
Inserting.
writing additional scenes. Well,
Okay.
I mean, you're the one ascribing value to that. But, like, you know, if you have a place that you need a little bit more, and then it gives you that license to put things in. I mean, that's totally, like, the same thing, too.
Right.
It's all part of that very important editory revisional process.
Yes.
And I'm not 100% sure revisional is actually a correct word, so listeners, please let me know. Anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of which, though, we are in the last set. We do have. I've enjoyed this set of episodes
Yeah, I
considering
think
how
it's
quickly
fun.
it came together. But we've got one last insertion to that. And speaking of which,
Yes.
oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah. You got this.
Oh, okay.
Go. Nah, it's
Okay.
fine. I actually was only half paying attention. I'm really tired. But
Oh no, really?
it's all right. This is the
couldn't
last
tell.
one. We can do it.
Power through. You got it. That's not at all what I was meaning by power through, but okay, we'll go with it. Anyhow, writing more scenes or adding more oomph to certain sections.
Yes, adding more.
So, yeah, I mean, adding stuff can be lots of fun. I mean, this
Ask any
being
mathematicians. But
after you've theoretically finished the draft already, because obviously this is additions, and this is not like, oh, I'm just going to put this in midstream. That's not really
Hey, speaking of
adding,
adding stuff, this has made me think
Yeah.
about with my what do you call a chicken that counts its eggs? A chicken.
All right. I was thinking you were going for some kind of hen pun, but that works too.
Anyways, moving on. I just thought that.
A public accountant.
Well, that's better. You should have written the joke.
A public account hen.
You should have written this
Anyway.
joke. Really, you're way better at it. Anyways,
Well, I mean, puns run in my family. I'm not great at them all the time, but sometimes I have some good ones.
moving
Anyways, so why would writers add stuff?
on. I don't know. Why would writers write more?
I mean, aside from that being like part of the job description.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it boils down to this. You want more play in the sandbox, right? You will have a reason for doing it, whether it's love of the characters, a lack of love for a certain section written who knows how long ago, or just plain invention in this world you've built.
Right.
The mind of a writer is never truly tapped out of creativity, so this is a natural process. And yes, listeners who are dog-eared will remember I said basically the opposite thing in the last episode, so feel free to...
I haven't been paying attention, so all right.
Well, like, as I said,
No, I
that
have
it
been.
depends on the writer.
I take this job very
It
seriously.
depends on the writer. But anyway,
Yes.
This is a natural process, although on the devil's advocate side, you do need to know when enough is enough.
Right.
Like, adding could be writing a full-fledged sequel, but, you know, maybe you don't need it. As to what you add, well, I mean, the world that you made is your oyster.
Isn't it, Josh?
So have fun.
Yes. No, I certainly
Enjoy
like
the
to
pearl.
add stuff like to beef it up. Of course, you got make sure you limit yourself just a little bit, as you were saying. So, like if the scene needs
why
something
would a
more
writer
to
add?
it, like to give it more power or gravitas, or like if it adds to character development in some way, then yeah, that's why writers could write more scenes. Like maybe the descriptions need beefing up, making it clear what the writer.
I think that maybe you should be able to add anti-gravitas to it. That'd be awesome.
I don't know why I don't. I'm like, oh, your jokes are terrible in my head because it's not like mine are any better.
Well, and the thing that I always laugh at is I don't honestly think people understand that, give it more gravitas, and you have people who actually follow through on the etymology of that and say, you don't understand the gravity of your situation. And I think the fun response would be like, of course I understand gravity. It's sucking me down. I get that.
It's weighing me down anyways. Anyways, maybe the descriptions need beefing up, though, making it clear what the writer intended for a scene. Or just, to add more atmosphere. Maybe.
Well, I mean, atmosphere also includes gravitational effect, so.
Yeah, it does. I should have brought Alan in. Like, he's the astronomy guy. He could have added some real stuff to this.
He could have added some real stuff to our awful jokes. No.
Well, as we said, I think in the
fair.
episode that he was in with me, he envisioned just him not just as the third wheel, but as the front wheel of a tricycle for the two of us in the back to try and guide us back into.
That is very true. He's got the turning wheels. We got the power. Anyway, no, we do care a lot about Alan. We'd love to have him back on the show sometime. Hope you're listening, buddy. Thanks for
Alan,
listening,
come back now.
as usual.
Anyway.
You what? You want to get rid of me? Why? But yeah, just to add more atmosphere, you said. I'm sorry, trying to take you back to that point.
That's okay. You're just trying to add stuff. So.
Well, I mean, I'm just padding things. It's just adding with a P, right?
And speaking of padding, maybe you just want a word count to be bigger. On this case, writers need to be careful not just to add filler and, of course, padding.
Well, that's the trick with this. Like, mostly adding is filler, right?
Right. Well, basically, there's a lot of reasons to do it, and a lot of different ways to justify it, and there's some ways to not justify it, so be careful.
Yeah. Well, and, I've said this before in this set, but I haven't said it yet for this one, that, it's worth soliciting other people's opinions, too.
Of course. No, it's all...
I mean, yes, you do it because you want to do it, but maybe they think it's fine as is, and you don't need to add anything that might, run the risk of being simply filler.
Right, exactly.
So,
anyway,
anyhow.
My webcam is really hot, and I don't know why.
Because it's being used? I don't know.
That would make sense. Okay, I was just... moving on! Alright, so...
Oh my goodness.
How does an author ideally deploy something like this, like adding additional scenes?
Ideal. Well, I suppose... sorry, now that I'm remembering to do this every week, here's your weekly reminder that our opinions may not agree with yours, but we are better than you listeners. That said, ideal kind of depends on what you're writing about. If your scenes are too disjunct, a little addition may be warranted as like a smooth over transition kind of a thing.
Right.
Personally, I don't write many large time gaps where nothing is covered because we either see another perspective or the story doesn't take place over such a long period of time.
Right.
Going between those larger skips might be worth an exploration. If your scene is clunky, maybe a bit more narration would smooth things over.
Right.
Getting from point A to point B isn't always linear. Sure, the shortest distance between it is a straight line, but it's not always linear.
Right.
So maybe adding a midway point, either a new scene or some extra detail in your narration from point A beginning to point B end would allow readers to draw that line quicker.
Yeah, no, I definitely think if there's a journey or something the characters are on and you're just like, oh wait, they're here, and oh wait, no, they're here. You could add some stuff in the middle. Why not?
You've got some room for it. Now, again, are there limitations imposed on you by the scope of what you're trying to do, what you're writing it for, what you're writing about? You obviously have to work around those things, too.
Well, if it's
again, to not make it filler.
Well, if these characters are, say, on a train ride, and one scene is them on the train, the next scene is them getting off, and you're like, oh, well, I want to add scenes in the middle. Well, of course you're limited. They're on the train. You can't really...
on the train. You just gotta work there. Yeah.
Right.
Unless you went to some villain that's, tracking the train from the river or something. By the way, there's a fun thing... Actually, you know what? As a family-friendly podcast, I can't wholesomely endorse this.
We'll get to that because my notes here have something that
Oh no, I was going to say have you ever heard of the Amtrak salute before?
No. Do I want to know?
So small children.
Oh, the Amtrak salute. Yes, I have heard of this. It's the mooning thing, isn't it?
Yes. So like people on the river will see a train pass by and they'll stand up and they'll just drop their shorts.
That happened. I was on a train once, and I was like, Dad, why is everyone mooning us? And he's like, well, this is why. And I'm like, I don't need to see that.
No, you don't. Although it's really funny. One time there was a group of people on it. I think it was like a raft. So it was a larger group of people. And like I think it was four people stood up, 3 guys, 1 gal. And they made as if to do the Amtrak salute, right as I'm in the window looking at this. And then the 3 guys suddenly just sit down right as the gal decides to drop trowel. So she's the only one who does the Amtrak salute, and my mom's just like, "Oh, you spineless cowards!"
Oh God. To be fair, that would also be me. Like I wouldn't. I would want to desperately be cool, and be like, "Oh yeah, of course I'll do it." And then I see everyone else going like, "Oh, I can't do it."
You know, I'll stand up and provide my emotional support and sit down. You know.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Oh,
that is a less wholesome thing than usual, but that's hardly as bad as what you're about to say, if I can read these notes correctly. However, how would you... What you got?
Well, deciding whether or not it fits and where exactly you would try and fit it. Like, once you find the right place, you can put it in, and I recognize this sounds a lot like sex, but I'm sticking to it. So...
Oh, jeez. See, I told you, listeners.
Basically, try to find the right place in the story that might need added material. That place might be during a time skip, during a time that's normally a montage, just adding oomph to a serious conversation, whatever. Just make sure the story calls for it.
Like, there's such a thing as putting extra gravitas in that you need. I mean, if it doesn't warrant it, then why put it in?
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, I agree with you on that.
But what are the hallmarks of a scene that are in need of some addition, though?
I mean, I mentioned a couple of examples before, I think, but like disjointed narration.
Yeah.
Huge time skips that would otherwise require purple prose through the roof of explanative exposition.
Right.
Too brief dialogue where the characters can have more fun. I am obviously a huge proponent of banter myself.
I love
Things
banter.
That aren't explained. Well, and that's the thing. I love banter too much. Like, I understand that. Generally, if I'm cutting something, for me, like, I don't want to cut it, but I understand it's the likely thing that should be cut. Because I don't need the conversation to be as long, even if I had a lot of fun writing it.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, that's a slightly different topic than adding things. But, you know, things that aren't explained properly on the page, you would probably might as well add something to make it more suitable.
Right,
if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense, yeah.
Keep in mind, some of these things don't actually belong in your narrative.
Right.
Well, they don't necessarily belong in your actual narrative, but maybe in some, like, extension or ancillary material, it would be gold.
Right.
The deleted scenes, the reworks that you pared things down. Maybe it's in the passionate fans only doorstop encyclopedia, for all I know, but you know, there might be a place for it that's not expressly the story you're planning to put out.
Right. Well, like, no, I think there's definitely times for that, and I think sometimes I've seen books that'll have like a special super edition where it's like longer, you know, and it's like just
longer and uncut.
South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut, but there was a movie called. In context,
I know what you're referencing.
Okay, good. Because you looked at me like I
don't understand South Park. I didn't look at you at all. You can't barely see my face on the screen right now.
From the little corner of your brow and the bit of your buzz cut, I saw confusion. But
yeah, right. That's called seeing things where they don't belong.
Anyways, well.
So what are the hallmarks of a scene in need of some addition, Donald?
Well, lack of description, clunky dialogue. That sounds more like how a robot would talk than what someone would naturally say. Like big payoffs that don't feel properly earned. Like basically anything that feels a bit more hollow than it should. Like, I don't know.
you're firmly in the camp of not leaving things hollow, right?
There's a joke here, and I'm trying to figure out the context.
Actually, no, I was just saying something weird. That's
yeah, I was gonna say, like, you're just literally repeating me, but you're saying it like it's a joke, and I'm like, I guess repetition is funny. Yeah, repetition.
Well, I mean,
repetition is funny. Repetition is funny. Repetition
It's
is
kind
funny.
of like
It's not getting any funnier, is it?
No, one of the few scenes of Friends that you showed me, though, is it's all about how you say things, right, Joey? Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Grandma's chicken salad.
Is there a point at which you know, I tend to run into this with banter, but is there a point that you've reached too much addition, peak addition, as it were?
Yeah, there's a whole term for this. It's called purple prose. I mean, it's also called filler and overfluffed and
Padding.
So, like most door-stopping novels, sorry to break it to you, they don't need to be door-stoppers, regardless of how cool it is.
What?
Regardless of how cool it
But
is
you
to
can
have
use
such a,
them.
to have such a door-stopping novel be part of your resume, it's not always necessary. Like, sometimes it's necessary, but mostly not. Find out why and narrow it. You've gone too far.
But, like, at least if you have it, then you could actually use it as a doorstop?
I mean, or a weapon.
I mean, it has function besides just the story.
Or, like, if you drop it off
kidding.
of a balcony, you could kill someone with it. Just so...
Or severely injure them. I don't know about kill, but anyway.
Okay,
Because we
serious
totally
legal
endorse
question.
dropping...
If serious legal question. If, say,
Because
you wrote
kids,
this
we
epic...
totally endorse dropping encyclopedic-sized books on passersby down below. That is totally what we're saying here.
No, serious legal question. Seriously. I need to ask my sister this. She's a lawyer, but I'll ask you for some reason, because you're the one here. If you wrote this super, super long book, and then you published it, and then someone decides to murder someone with a book, and they use your book, are you an accomplice of the murder? Because you're the one who decided to make it big enough to be a weapon.
Yeah, you decided to publish it. Now, you're not the one who decided the intention of making it into a weapon, but the fact that you made the material that they ended up using. But okay, I am no legal specialist, but consider when somebody goes on a mass shooting spree, like we've seen way too often.
Okay, never mind. Let's not talk into politics. Let's not bring this into...
No, hold on. Do people sue the gun companies for making the guns?
Okay, well, let's not talk about politics here.
Do people sue... This isn't really political.
I mean, it is in America, a lot of it.
This is legal. Well, okay, gun control is a political thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm just wanted to if somebody should use the gun. But I mean, that's the example. Like, you wrote the book, and then separately somebody decided to use it. Does that mean you're at fault? No, I don't believe so.
Well, the thing with the gun control thing, this is why I didn't want to get into it, is because the gun's only purpose is to kill, while a book's purpose is to
entertain.
Yeah, so
they're inherently different.
It's a heated topic for me, and I don't want to get into it. So I was just making a fun thing. I'm tired. Let's move on. Is there a point of too much addition, David? Like this, for instance.
Yes, and if you started feeling it, it's way too late as the reader is concerned.
Right.
Because obviously you're gonna enjoy what you're doing far more than they are likely to enjoy something that's not their own work. They didn't create it, so they don't have the same investment in it as you do. If you started feeling it, lots of trouble there.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with experimentation or playing more with the set parameters, but at some point this turns from addition, which is fun, into necessary deletion, which is not fun and difficult, or worse, lose the impetus of what you were attempting to add in the first place.
Right.
It's a delicate balance. One that I tend to solve by leaving a canvas for fun scenes that I wrote at one point that ended up not fitting.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Anyways, is there anything more to add in this episode that for some reason is shorter than the one about clipping, even though it's...
It's just a last-minute addition. I mean, come on.
Well, like...
It wasn't really a last-minute addition. But we do have a fairly long skit on this one. So
yeah, I guess that's true. And also, to be fair, maybe it fits. The clipping episode is the one that's in the most need of clipping, and the adding episode is the one that's in most need of adding. So...
But yeah, if there's anything else you have about... Well, I refer to it here as plug-and-play material, so it's literally you just put it into use, but...
plug-and-play material.
Anything else to add about additions?
I mean... Nothing beyond more what a mathematician could add, but... Or a mathemachicken, as it were.
Okay.
But...
Or a public accountant. Counting all of those eggs for everyone.
It's
As a final
11:36
check,
p.m. here. And I know some
as
people...
a final check,
Yeah.
how about the other aspects of revision if something came to your mind as we, passed by it already, though? I'm thinking not, but I figure I better check.
Yeah, no, it's
Since
good to
this
check.
is the last episode of our set.
It's good to check. No, I think we have covered it thoroughly. This series of episode is pristinely, perfectly revised and edited, and obviously, as I'm saying,
Well,
and
it will be.
the right stuff added in, the wrong stuff clipped out. It's just put
Yep.
with a finely toothed comb. It's perfect. We're releasing it on its most
In every way.
perfect
In
prime
every way.
form.
Yes. It sounds like we don't have anything to add about revision.
Nope.
But if you had any questions. Oh, by the way,
Yes.
reading the fan mail.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Do you have some to add? Because I haven't seen it, but you might.
Well, look, I'm just going to say that we get so swarmed with fan mail
It's hard to choose which ones
that
to
I
read.
just can't
And also,
pick which one to.
also, can't pick which one to add.
Yeah.
So worth mentioning, listeners. Some people do actually ask us not to share some of their comments and stuff, which is totally fine.
Right.
Please let us know if you want us to share things on the air. We'd be more than happy to do that.
Absolutely.
Shout out to your friends, people who might be listening to the podcast. For all we know, thanks for the support. We
Right.
really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes. So with no particular fan mail, I guess then we can go to that's it for this week.
That
so
is
to
it
get in touch with us
for this week. And how do you get in
go
touch
ahead
with us?
and you can go ahead and go to the MatthewDonaldCreator.com website and use the contact page or your own email system. The email address to reach us is mattd, that's with 2 T's, at MatthewDonaldCreator.com. If you're that worried about spelling, it will be in the description, so
Yes.
don't panic.
Yes.
If you have any general questions, specific suggestions, things we should have edited out or added in, please let us know.
I don't see how they
we
could
do
possibly
share
think
Matt
that.
D
It's
in
flawless
common.
what we've got here. So.
Flawless. Yes, right. But if you have a question, please specify which co-host, the usual spiel there. We also, I say we, there are also social media stuffs for professional endeavors that a certain Matt Donald over there
One of
has,
these days,
so
you'll have a
post.
professional social media account, and then I will happily.
I just don't know if it'll. Well, I just don't know if it'll be like writing related. That's the thing.
That's
with
true.
Mine
Okay.
probably wouldn't be.
Well, if you want to follow me,
Anyway, go ahead.
Follow
What you
me
got?
at Matthew Creator on Facebook, at Matthew64 on Twitter, and Matthew64 on Instagram. Why 64? Because that's how many cavities I've had in my life. Yep, that equates to about
Before
two.
Twitter.
That equates to about 2 cavities per tooth. My mouth is a frickin' mess, David.
I'd believe it, but I also think that number is going to change every time you register for a new account. So keep paying attention if you're that desperate to know, listeners.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah. So.
Well, did you hear what I said though? It's like that's how many cavities you had before you made a Twitter account.
Yeah, it's true. I've had like 96 since then. I really, maybe this might be a revolutionary thought, but maybe I need to brush my teeth more, huh?
What a thought. Anyway, from us at the Wit talking about revisions, we're actually done with that. We'll be back with some new stuff next time.
Yeah,
but
who
thanks
knows
for
what it'll
listening,
be. We'll
and
find
keep
out.
writing, listeners. Yeah, we got to figure that out yet, but
Anyways.
we'll get it done per usual.
Yep, I'm Matt Donald.
And I'm Matt David. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep writing, listeners.
Keep writing. Bye.
The Red Wing.